Hi everybody, Alex here from Expert Forex. So welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to really be covering very important areas that can dramatically increase the success of your Forex trading. You're going to see a technique that works really well, a method of training yourself to trade really profitably. You're going to see some Forex tools that you can use, and you're going to see a way that you can automate what you discover to be successful. So what I want to show you in this video is the power of the RSI trendline technique. It's a technique that I've been using for over 10 years. Extremely powerful and extremely simple. The other thing I want to show is the power of backtesting. Backtesting is so fantastic because you can basically condense a year's worth of trading into a few days. And what you learn from the backtesting is invaluable, and hopefully you'll see a bit of that in this video. I'm also going to be using the Forex Tester number 3 to do my backtesting. You don't necessarily have to use this tool. You can use the MT4 platform and just increase the trading by one candle at a time. But the Forex Tester, you will see, is a very advanced backtesting tool. And then after all of this, I'm going to show you how to create the rules for an EA. In other words, how you can automate what you have found to be the rules of success in Forex trading. So today I'm going to be testing the RSI trendline crossover technique. It's a pretty simple technique, simple rules, and the more you see it, the more it will make sense to you. Essentially, what you're looking for is you're looking for an overbought environment that has a few waves and then goes into the oversold environment, moves up, and then crosses over a trend line that can be drawn over the turning points of the waves in the market. So as it crosses that particular trend line, that is the signal to buy. Now obviously the opposite applies to sells, but this example is a buy example. What I like about this thing, it gives early signals and quite reliable signals. The other thing is that we don't want this crossover over here to happen too far away from the 50 line. So as a guidance, I normally use about 30. It shouldn't be below 30 and above the 70 line. If those crossovers happen there, the signal becomes weaker. Okay, so let's move straight into the Forex Tester number 3, and I'll show you how I have set up for this test. Now on your screen you can see the Forex Tester number 3. It tries to replicate MT4 as best it can. And if you want to get more details about this particular tool, just download it. It is a free download, and click on the help menu and look at tutorials. There's some great videos that take you through the whole process of how you can test strategies. There's also a quick start guide, but that's the quick way of doing it. The free version allows you to do some testing but not save the settings. The paid version comes with some data and also allows you to save your projects. And I'm using a particular project today which I've designed, which I call the RSI Pound USD 2018 project. So at the moment, I haven't started, so there's no data that has been loaded into this test. I am going to start the test. And what I like doing is I like starting the test a few weeks earlier than I really want to, because you've got to give them the indicators that you use a little bit of time to build up. Also, I have the RSI loaded on this chart. It is set for 4 on the close. I have levels of 80. The 80 is for overbought. The 20 is for oversold. The midline is the 50 line. So I don't want the trend line to cross over outside of the 70 and 30 lines that are also on the indicator. Now you can load all kinds of indicators on. There's an incredibly long list of indicators that you can load on to test on the Forex Tester. So let's start, and I'll just start with a basic setup first, and then we'll start trading. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start the test, and I'll just let it build up some history first, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to manually do it candle by candle. So there we are, and that's why I start a little bit earlier, because I need the indicator and the charts to develop. So there's the indicator starting to develop, the charts are starting to develop, and I'm just going to keep on increasing it for a while until we've got more history. I'm running from December last year, and we'll run right into the current year for the pound USD, and I'm basically like testing currencies on a random basis using this particular technique. Okay, so remember what we're looking for. We're looking for the RSI to go overbought or oversold. There we have an oversold environment building up, and now we have an overbought. So it has now reached a point where it's conforming with two of the requirements. It has to go oversold and overbought. Now we want to see some better waves coming through. Let's have a look. All right, so there's the start of, that's basically the start of the first wave. And that wave wasn't strong enough to justify a signal, so we just ignoring that particular. Okay, so now here we do have a setup for a potential buy. Okay, so let's have a look at why I'm saying that. There's our trend line. It's just barely inside the level that I like it to be. So there's the two waves, the trend line violation. The violation happened within the range that we want to, and now we can place a buy trade. Now I have an account open, and let's just open them, view that particular account. It's an account with $1,000 in it, and what I'm going to do is, just for the simplicity's sake, I'm going to trade half a macro lot per trade. So I'm going to start with an order. So I enter the order. So half a macro lot is 5 micro lots. So there they are loaded in there. And I'm going to put a stop and a target in here. So my stop, I guess, could go, and this one allows you to actually place it up. I'm going to put it below the previous low. And I'm going to put my target more or less, you see there's a bit of a support and resistance level that we've got there, so I'm going to put my target there, and this will give me, if you look at the distance, it'll give me a 1-to-1 risk return ratio, and everything looks good, and I'm going to buy this trade. So there the buy is recorded, there's the take profit, and there's the stop loss, and here's the signal. So let's see how that goes. Now I'm going to advance it one candle at a time. So far it's going well. And, oops, and there we go. All right, so there's our first successful deal. We followed the rules of the system perfectly, and we have had a successful deal. You can see we've earned $25 on our, which is not too bad. It's 2.5% on our account with that trade. Now the question here now is, we are back. This is how you back trade, exactly how you back trade. Now the question is going to be, did I get out too early? Did I get out? Was my stop in the right place? You know, those are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself. So let's have a look. So we'll move it on, and it shows us that we actually got out at the right time. Maybe not. Yeah, it looks like we got out at the right time on this particular trade. So let's just move on here until we see a nice formation similar to what we've just seen there. So it's not really doing much. Thank goodness we got out of that trade at the right time. Now, an interesting development has happened here. If we look at this formation, we've got overbought, we've got oversold, and this is still a valid formation. So if we can find a trend line that will cross the tops of these trades, we can still trade. It's quite interesting, and I'm going to actually just take a trend line, something like this. That's a trend line, and let's have a look. If that gets violated, that would be a buy signal. It won't be a sell signal because you need the other side, you need an oversold environment for the. So there we go. That is now a buy signal on this particular chart. Now let's have a look at that. It's not the greatest signal, but it does comply with the rules. Overbought, oversold, trend line with nice waves underneath it, and so we still do have a valid signal here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually buy this signal, and let's just do that. We just go and we decide where we want the stop to be, so that we put a stop in where we think. So I'm going to put the stop here below the previous low. I'm also going to put the target. The target has to be at least double that size. But let's have a look at what's happened here. This is actually a triangle that's developed. So I'm just going to close that. This is actually a triangle that's developed. So I expect it to go almost as big as the triangle. So I'm going to put my stop just below there, and I'm going to put the take profit, and you'll see on the right hand side it actually tells you how much your profit can be, so or how big your profit is in points. So it was about 170, I think, the size of the triangle, the start of the triangle. So I'm going to use that level, and I am going to buy this one. So yeah, that seems to be a fair area to put the take profit, and let's have a look if this works out. And we've got a nice risk return ratio. So again, I advance it. Now you can advance it by tick or by minute, or by in as many ways as you want. I'm doing it by candle because that will accelerate the video. So all right, so we've got a good result coming out here. It's going positive. Now it's negative. So oops. Okay, so it's all over the show at the moment. Takes a while. Okay, so it's heading for our target. This is pretty good. And let's see if it reaches the target. All right, okay, so it hit the target, and we have a successful deal based on the rules of this particular system. So our profit has now gone up to $108, which is quite nice at this particular time. All we now need to do is continue trading exactly the same. Now, we have got an oversold environment. We have got an overbought environment. So let's have a look at what develops out of this. So on we go. So you can see the fantastic thing about this Forex tester. It shows your actual trades on the screen, and you can take photos of the chart if you like. Oops, now here we have a potential trade. Now the reason why I say that is, let's have a look. Here we've got our oversold environment. We've got two big waves with a whole lot of small ones in between, but essentially two big waves, a trend line that's actually crossing at the 50 line, which is ideal, and we have an oversold and overbought environment, and we have a divergence. The divergence is basically when the indicators are going one direction and the price chart is going in another direction. So that's a divergence, a nice strong divergence. So this is really quite a nice trade. Let's see how we position size this particular one, and we'll go. Now the beauty of this one is that we can most probably have a fairly small stop, and I'm just going to put it up there. I most probably can put it there just below the previous high, and the target could be, there seems to be a support and resistance area around about there, so I just put it just above that target. So we're getting roughly more or less a one-on-one, or even a better than one-on-one risk return ratio, and I'm going to sell this. Boom. As simple as that. So let's carry on. So we advance it now. You can click on that icon to advance it one candle at a time. or you can hit the space bar, which I'm doing now. It didn't quite reach the target. I must probably overly optimistic on that one, so that's quite we'll have to watch this trade. That's why we have stops, and it's now not really working out, this particular one. Hang on, it's trying to get down. It's trying. Oops, looks like it's again it came pretty close to hitting our target and has now shot up. Now the danger here, and you've got to watch these things quite carefully, is we've got overbought and an oversold environment there. So if you draw a trend line over those, you're reaching a point where this could turn into a buy signal. So this is actually setting up for a buy signal. There's the one mound and there's the other one. So this is getting pretty dangerous, actually. So let's just continue. Okay, let's continue. It's trying to get back to the target, trying very hard. Oops. Oh, all right. Okay, so we made it. We actually were successful. We were successful on this particular trade. Very fortunate on that, and our profits have now gone up even more. And if you want to look at what we've done, 25 on the first, 80, and now 45. So that's all good stuff. All right, so we can take that line out. It's not really applicable anymore, and we are now successful. Now it has gone oversold. And we'll just have to wait for it to build up some nice formations. Okay, so we've got oversold and overbought. We've got a few of the qualifications that we need. Now, you could have drawn a trend line up there. As you can see, you can draw, but that's too steep, and also the crossing is way above our 70 line, so that wouldn't work. And I'll just delete that line. Okay, so let's have a look. So, and again, this isn't really, there aren't really clear waves here, so we can't do much with this yet. Let's just see if it builds up into something better. Okay, so what we've got here now is a potential sell transaction, because we have a divergence, we have that trend line violation, everything's looking good for a sell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this as a sell. I'll first decide where the stop is. So the stop's just above the previous high. The target is most probably, that will give us a one-on-one. It was probably around about there, target. And yeah, let's sell. So because it has met all the requirements that we know of, and let's see if this works out. Oops, not a good start. Not a good start. Ooh. Okay, now didn't work out at all. So these things happen. Sometimes you see a great setup and the market doesn't like it, and these things do happen. So let's just have a look at what's happened to our. So our account has now had a bit of a knock there, a negative trade there, but let's just carry on and let not worry too much about that. You'll find that no trading system is perfect, and don't try and make it. Don't try and find a perfect system. If you're going to make a loss, you're going to make a loss. That's as simple as that. Let's just carry on with this process until we see a nice setup. So all I'm doing is I'm watching this area here, and this looks like a potential trade, but this one hasn't gone oversold, so we can't take that trade. And good thing that we didn't. All right, so now we've got an overbought and oversold environment. So let's have a look what happens next. Okay, now decision time. Are we going to trade this particular trade? And let's see if it qualifies. We've got a crossing that's very close to the 30 line. It's most probably only just making it. It is Oh, pretty close. All right, so that's close enough. Remember, these lines are just guidelines. You can cheat if you want to, but I think this is close. Some nice waves, 4 waves there. There you can actually see the waves on the, and this one is now changing direction. It's gone over the 50 line. Let's trade this particular trade. So on we go. Where are we going to put the stop? Just below the low. Where are we going to put the target? Most probably at that high over there. Yeah, that's about a 1-on-1 risk return ratio, and let's buy that one. Now this is a marginal trade, as I said, and most probably let's see if it will work. Whoops, okay, it's gone positive, it's all over the place a bit. Okay, so it just took the profit there, and we've just recorded another positive trade. Okay, so let's just move on. Now we've got one oversold, so we're waiting for another signal. Oops, there we are. We've got a potential signal here. So let's just check what the lines look like. And this line is definitely doesn't qualify because the crossing is way away from the 70 line. So we won't go for this particular trade. Let's see if that's a good decision or not. Oh, clearly it was a really bad decision. But sometimes the rules, and also don't try and catch every single trade that there is. If you try and bend the rules too much for this particular one, you say, oh, if I bent the rules, I could have got it. Great trade that you could have made there, but rather stick to the rules and that'll be fine. All right, so let's see. Now we've got an overbought, we've got an oversold. We haven't got that wave. So this is actually the first wave that's forming right now, a second wave forming, and we can now start drawing a trend line, something like that. And if the price cuts that trend line, we can trade. Whoa! Okay, so huge jump there, and this theoretically is a trade because it goes overbought, oversold, trend line violation. But the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and this is the type of thing that develops as you are back trading, you start realizing these things, is there's another little rule that says, you see there's a nice divergence. So this on the face of it, this is a great trade. But there's a rule that says that if the price has reached the overbought again, then that is not a signal. So now that the fact that it's reached overbought is not a signal. It's just gone outside of the, and anyway, the actual price is outside of this 30 and 70 area, and this makes this trade too risky because it's already gone oversold. So let's just ignore that trade. And we have an overbought environment here now, so we're waiting for another oversold environment before we can trade again. So we just advance it by pressing the space bar. All right, so now we have another oversold environment, and let's just wait for it to set up for we need an oversold environment to justify a transaction. Okay, there it's gone oversold now. I'm not even draw this trend line will be outside, but will be below the 30 line, so I'm not taking that one yet. Okay, now we've got, all right, now we do have a potential trade building up here. If it violates that trend line, we could possibly go into a buy. Okay, so it hasn't done it, didn't like that. Oh, there we are. Okay, so there we have a trend line, a setup, overbought, oversold, and we have a nice divergence, and the price hasn't jumped excessively like in that previous one. We have that kind of divergence there. So this is a trade. So let's have a look at this trade. We'll open a trade. here. We'll put our stop. Always, the stop is the first thing to worry about, as it were. Then we look at the target. Target should be more or less that. There's a rejection level. Let's sort of keep it just below the rejection level. Okay, so we buying that, and the risk return ratio is more or less 1. So let's see how this deal turns out. Okay, so it's dawdling a bit. Okay, it hit the target, and it has also gone overbought, so everything's turned out quite well on that particular trade. It was a really nice setup. So oops, so here we go. Immediately we are presented with another trade, but let's just see if that really is a trade. No, the crossover is too far away. There it is. And it is a valid one. Overbought, oversold, overbought, and some nice waves and a trend line, but that trend line is too high, so we disregard that one. All right, so we need, all right, so we've got overbought, oversold, whoa, and we need, all right, overbought, oversold, and let's just see, this again I think will not be a trend line. No, we can't trade this one. You can see the trend line is completely nowhere. So let's, all right, so now it's made a nice hook. So let's see if we draw a trend line like that. If it violates that trend line, that would be a valid, because we've got overbought, oversold, and we've got a turning point, and if it violates that, I guess technically that is a trade, although that second wave is a really poor wave, but we have had 2, 3, 4 and a little bit of a wave there, so we can trade this one. So we open our trading again, and we put the first thing, where's our stop going to go? There's our stop going to go. Where's our target going to go? And it's around about there, so we want to be up here somewhere. So yeah, that would be a good target, more or less where the previous, you can see there's support, so that would make a good target, and we'll just buy this one. Okay, so let's see if this signal works. Oops, it didn't, and up it goes. All right, now it's working, not really very well. Oops. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so we're lucky on this one. It has hit our target, and that's all good. So let's just look for the next trade. Now those didn't go overbought, so that trend line violation doesn't count. All right, so it's gone oversold. It's gone overbought, and now we're setting up for another trade, and the trade will happen when this trend line is violated. Oversold, overbought, and let's see if it, oh, there we are. Okay, so that trend line has now been violated, and this is a valid, there's not the greatest waves, but that does comply with the type of thing that we're looking for. So let's have a look. So we go back to our order. First thing we do is we put a stop in. The second thing we do is we put our target. Now I'm just going to, all right, I'll increase it later on, but that's most probably a good target. See, that's a resistance area. Yeah, so that's good, and we are selling now. It looks like a tiny deal there. Let me see if I can increase the size of this of the chart. Okay, so this, you see, that doesn't look too bad, but this is a good signal, overall. Might be a double top there, not sure. So let's see what happens. Okay, whoops, got it wrong there. Oh, okay, so it's starting to help. So it's a very inconsistent price movement. So pretty close to the target there. And oh, look at the price is jumping all over the show. And let's just see where this one goes. Oh, all right, so it did spike down, hit the target quite comfortably actually, and that was a successful transaction. So let's just have a look at the account at this point. I think you're starting to get an idea of what's going on. We've now had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trades, made $270 profit, and I think you're starting to get an idea of how back trading works and how the RSI trend line system works. That you do exactly just what I've just been doing. You look for overbought, oversold environments, draw the trend line. Does it fall in the area that you want the trend line violation to occur? And you then trade. It's, you know, that's what I like about the system. It's really, really simple rules. Now, of the 8 that we've traded, 1 was unsuccessful. The others were nicely successful. So that was a good trading session. We've increased our account by over 25%. Always good when that happens. So what have we learned today? We've actually learned that by doing this, you build up your skills. Now, you can do it with your eye in MetaTrader and say, oh, I would have traded there, I would have traded there, I would have traded. But by actually entering the deals, determining the stop levels for every individual transaction and determining the target levels for every transaction, you are honing your trading skills tremendously. And what's also nice is that you can go backwards, and I'll just briefly do that. Let's just I'll just move this out the way a bit. Let's say you looked at this and said, oh well, look, the target was actually there. Why didn't I put my target there? And you can see there's no real reason to put your I think the way I put my target originally was actually the most secure place. But what you could do if you want to is you could actually go back now. You can actually go back and say, oh well, let's just see, with the benefit of hindsight, you could say, oh, all right, there we are. Okay, so now you pretend you haven't traded that trade, so you go, oh yes, now I'm ready to trade. Let me put my stop in where I think it should be. Let me put my target in, and I think it should be at the bottom of this breakout candle. Right there is where I think it should be, and let's see if that actually works. And then I'm going to sell. Okay, so then I go step, and I just forward the price, and oops, now notice it didn't take that one because a sell entry needs a buy exit. Now, so in other words, this is a buy transaction and it has to include the spread, so the price must actually go three or four pips below this level for the buy transaction to happen. But you get the idea now. You can actually go backwards and reevaluate your trades and then move forwards again. So it's a really fantastic tool. It allows you to correct your trading mistakes or analyze why you took the wrong decision at a particular time. But also don't be too hard on yourself. Except if you can get a between 60 and 80% success rate, that's what you're looking for. Don't try and be perfect with these trades. But this Forex tester allows you to do this kind of thing that I'm showing you. Also, I must stress that this RSI trend line violation technique is a very good technique. I would strongly recommend that you sit and backtest it for a couple of hours a day for the next week or so, and once you've done that, you will have convinced yourself, and your confidence level to trade this system will be so high that you will just print money. Okay, I'm not going to go on. We've basically, you've got the idea of how back trading works. You've got the idea of how the trend line, the RSI trend line violation system works. So what's left now is we're saying, all right, how can we automate this? There are some restrictions on automation. Did you see how specific I was about where I put my stops and where I put my targets? I actually determined that by support and resistance and the price action that existed at the time. That gives manual traders a huge advantage over automated traders, because when you're doing automated trading, you have to work with averages. And that makes it very difficult. So if you were to program a EA for this technique, the actual entry rules are very easy, but the stop and exit rules are a bit trickier, and often we have to use averages for those particular ones. If you give this to a program and say, look, please automate this, that's exactly what will happen. They'll be able to automate the entry rules very successfully. The exit rules will be the tricky part of this trading technique. But we have automated this technique, and I'll just show you it very quickly. So here's the EA. It's the RSI trendline violation EA, and it works on exactly what I've explained here, how the entry signals work. And there you can see the EA basically in action, and you can also watch some videos to see how it works. And the success rate is pretty high on this one. It's 80%. It trades it has to be calibrated for the actual currency and time frame that you're using. So you do need those kind of skills. We do give some guidance in the forum on what kind of settings to use. So visit this website to view more details about this EA. So if you look at the inputs for this particular trendline EA, trendline violation EA, you'll see all the things we've been talking about. So it needs the RSI period, it needs the overbought and oversold levels, it needs the trigger levels, that's what we've been talking about, and then it goes into the normal things that an EA has. But it does also need initial stop losses and initial take profits. Those are the tricky areas to determine, because as you see, when you're trading manually, you can do that very specifically. When you're trading an EA, they are non-specific. And this particular EA allows you to use break-even stops and trailing stops and dynamic stops to help you find your target area. So the other option is to have no target, but just use following stops and break-even stops to determine where your exit should be. So you can see we've done our best to automate this trading technique, but the weakness is this initial stop loss and take profit has to be an averaged item. We can't customize it per trade. But in general, you can do this kind of testing on any technique. Perfect it using manual. When I say perfect it, if you get a 70% success rate, that's close to perfection. Then you have the rules which you can use to automate the technique, and then writing an EA is very simple. But you need to go through the process of back trading it as I've just shown you now. So just to summarize, you've now seen the RSI trendline technique. It is a very powerful technique. Stick to the rules and you'll do pretty well. You've seen how backtesting works and how powerful that can be to give you the confidence that what you're doing is right. And you've also seen the Forex tester, which makes backtesting an absolute pleasure. And you've also seen how to create rules for an EA in order to automate any trading technique that you really like. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've liked it, please give it a big like on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. And if you subscribe to the channel, remember to click on the tick on the bell so that you get notified of any other videos that I publish. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.